the first reading, I think it was 2002, 2003, out in that old space at Village. And I remember sitting in the back row as this was going on, being certain I was going to be fired. I was like, well, this has been a nice run. A couple years, that's great.
And why did you think you were going to be fired?
Well, it was weird. The show was weird, yeah. It was weird. And it was, you know, it was not about things that musicals are normally about. And it was a mess. So I called up Tom and I said, what about a musical about a woman who suffers from depression and has to have shock therapy? And Tom said, okay. You know? And as I said before, part of this comes from writing the Varsity Show, when I would call him up at 3 in the morning and say, how about a song about people having sex in the library? And he would say, okay. You know, so we wrote that 10-minute musical and sort of thought that would be that. Like, well, we'll do our little, you know, our little badass thing. Can I say badass? I can say badass,
You
right?
can say badass.
We'll do our little.
We're all adults
here.
We'll
do our little badass thing, and people will tell us we can't do that, and we'll put on our motorcycle, you know, put on our jackets and ride our motorcycles out of the room and be really cool. But what happened was, there were plenty of people who were like, you can't do a musical about that. But then there were people who stopped us afterwards to tell us their stories and talk about their own struggle with depression, or a parent who they had had ECT, or and this kind of kept happening. We did another presentation of that 10-minute musical, and then we did a presentation of songs, and every time we would present material from the show or a partially written version of the show, we would say, well, this has been great working on this, but it's probably the end of the road, because who's ever going to want to produce a musical about this? But every time people would stop us afterwards, would wait to talk to us, or would write us emails or write us letters and say, this is what happened to me. And it was powerful and intimate, and it really sort of said to us that there was something in this material worth working on.
There will be light.